Captain Jace Wilder looked at himself in the mirror of the small dressing chamber. His black formal uniform was smooth, sharp, and full of medals that he didn't think he earned. The silver badge on his chest read Terran Diplomatic Corps, but it might as well have said, "Here comes trouble." He sighed, brushed a bit of lint from his shoulder, and muttered, "Don't say anything stupid today, Jace." Outside the chamber, 2 Zelari guards stood still as statues. They were tall, blue-skinned, with glowing eyes and faces carved from ice. They didn't blink. They didn't speak. They didn't even breathe loudly. Jace swallowed. "Great," he whispered, walking into a room full of space elves who hate jokes. What could go wrong? But a day was history. The first true meeting between the people of Earth and the mighty Zelari Empire. The Zelari had ruled half the galaxy for thousands of years. Their technology was old and powerful. Their culture was strict and emotionless. Smiling in public was a sign of weakness. Jokes were considered childish. Laughter was, well, close to blasphemy. And now humans had been invited to their moon world, Zelthorax, to sign a diplomatic agreement. The door opened. A Zelari voice, smooth and cold-like. Marble said, "It is time." Jace took a deep breath. "Let's make peace," he said. "We cannot get vaporized." The grand hall of the Moon Palace was like something out of a dream. Crystal walls rose high above, glowing softly with inner light. Floating platforms carried noble Zelari in robes of deep silver. The air was filled with a low hum like music. Made by stars, and at the far end, standing on a shining platform of white glass, was Empress Keltha. She was stunning. It's not just in beauty, but in presence. Her posture was perfect. Her eyes were like twin galaxies deep, purple with flecks of starlight. Her silver headdress glowed softly, and her robes shimmered like water under moonlight. Jace took one step forward, then stopped. He felt like the room had gone quiet. Maybe it was just in his head. Then the voice of the ceremony drone spoke. Representative of the Terran people stepped forward. Jace did. He walked slowly to the center of the hall, tried to remember the words he was supposed to say. Formal greeting, deep bow, say nothing off script. He stood before Keltha. She looked down at him with curiosity and a strange softness. Most of the other Zelari looked bored or annoyed. Jace opened his mouth. His mind went blank. Then his brain betrayed him. He looked into her eyes, too long, too deep, and said aloud, "Do you have a map? Because I keep getting lost in your eyes." The hall went dead silent. Every Zelari turned their heads. The guards took a half step forward. Jace swears. He heard a few murmurs in their language. Something like, "He has spoken the forbidden, playful tongue." Or maybe just as he mentally damaged. He wanted to run, or punch himself, or melt into the floor. But then Keltha's lips moved. A curve. Soft, gentle, she smiled. It wasn't forced. It wasn't fake. It was small, but real. The gasps in the room were like thunder. One elder Zelari actually dropped his glass. It shattered on the crystal floor. Keltha placed a hand to her chest, her cheeks if that's what. They were turned slightly silver, as if she were blushing. She said something in her language, a short phrase. The translator earpiece in Jace's ear spoke the words a second later. "He is not what I expected. Interesting." Jace blinked. I didn't mean Keltha." Raised a hand and he stopped. "You are." "Unfiltered," she said, in perfect, melodic English. Like light from a young star. Jace looked around. Everyone still stared at him, some in fear, some in confusion. A few in deep, deep hatred. "Well," he said nervously, "thank you, Your Highness. That's probably the nicest way anyone's ever said I talk too much." Her smile grew 1% wider. Then she turned to the council. Her voice became cold and formal again. "This meeting will continue." "We shall not judge until we understand," the council muttered. Some nodded. Others looked ready to choke. Jace was quickly led out of the hall by the guards. Back in his chamber, Jace paced, like a man waiting for the axe. What did I do? What did I do? His communication device buzzed. His commander's face appeared Admiral Reyes, a stern woman with sharp eyes. "Wilder," she snapped. "What? The hell?" "I panicked," he said. "Her eyes are like portals to another universe, ma'am." "I just said the first thing that came to mind. You don't flirt with alien queens in a diplomatic summit." "I wasn't flirting." "Okay, I was, but not on purpose." "We're getting 100 mixed messages from their side. Some are calling you a threat. Some say you're a prophet. One guy said you're a chaotic soul flame. That sounds kind of cool." It's not. It means they think you might be a mind weapon." Jace groaned. "Just great." But the Admiral paused. "We also got a personal message from the Empress." He straightened. "She did. She has requested a private audience. With you. Tonight." Jace blinked. "I'm not going to be vaporized?" "No, you're going to dinner. It's with the most powerful being in half the galaxy alone, so don't screw it up." Later that evening, Jace stood in a small garden chamber filled with floating light orbs and softly singing flowers. He'd been told to wear relaxed clothing Zalari robes, which looked like shiny pajamas. Keltha arrived alone. No guards. No crown. She looked younger without the formal wear. Still majestic, but human almost. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I wasn't going to say no." She studied him. "That thing you said. The map and eyes. Is it meant as humor?" "Yes," he said. "A terrible pickup line from my planet." She nodded. "It was strange, but it made something." "Move inside." He smiled. "We call that butterflies in the stomach. Totally harmless." Usually, she walked to a bench and sat. He joined her. "Your people feel much," she said. "You laugh, you cry, you sing loudly in space stations. Badly. I've done that," Jace admitted. "We were once like that. Long ago, before the Mind Core." He tilted his head. "What's the Mind Core?" She shook her head. "Another time." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Keltha asked almost shyly, "Will, you tell me another joke?" Jace blinked. "Seriously?" She nodded. He thought for a moment, then said, "Why did the star refuse to go on a date?" "Why?" "Because it needed space." Keltha stared at him. Then she smiled again, a real full smile. And somewhere deep in the Moon Palace, alarms quietly went off. The next morning, the galaxy changed. Not because of war, not because of a new weapon, but because an Empress smiled and it was real. Across the Zalari Empire, news of Empress Keltha's smile spread like a solar flare. The ancient alien networks lit up, High Lords whispered. Priests of logic screamed. Even the lower moons paused their daily rituals. No one could believe it. The Empress smiled at a human, the news said. He used emotional speech. She responded. Harmony may be broken. Every corner of the empire, people stared at their screens. Some were curious, others were angry. Some were afraid, but all of them felt something they hadn't felt in a long time. Colon changed. Captain Jace Wilder, meanwhile, had no idea what he had started. He was back in his guest room, eating something that looked like a blue jelly pancake. It wobbled and hummed when he poked it with a spoon. This is either breakfast or a small singing creature, he said to himself. His communicator buzzed. It was Admiral Reyes again. Wilder, she said with a tired face. You've officially started a cultural earthquake. He blinked. That bad? Half their high council thinks you're a spy? The other half thinks you're a prophet. It sounds balanced? It's not. They've called an emergency meeting. Some want you arrested. Jace sat up straight. Whoa. I didn't mean to cause trouble. You didn't cause trouble. You caused emotion. And the Zalari aren't used to that anymore? Later that day, Jace was summoned back to the palace. But this time, it wasn't the grand hall. It was a small garden room with glowing trees and soft wind. Keltha was already there, sitting on a floating chair shaped like a flower petal. She looked different. No crown, no guards, just her in a simple robe of soft silver. She smiled again when she saw him. Jace smiled back, but nervously. I think I broke your empire, he said. She tilted her head. You bent it, not broke. Keltha stood and walked slowly around him, hands behind her back. My people do not show emotion, she said. We have forgotten how. Long ago, we connected all our minds into the harmony core, a psychic network. It keeps us calm, ordered, united. But it also dulls us. She looked at him. Your words, your joke cut through it. Jace frowned. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You didn't. You woke something up. Keltha took him through the palace's hidden halls. They entered a crystal chamber filled with floating memory spheres. These hold moments from the past, she explained. This one is from when I was a child. She touched a sphere. A younger Keltha appeared laughing, giggling, running through a field with other Zalari children then. The scene shifted. A cold figure, a teacher or elder, placed a hand on her forehead. The laughter stopped. Eyes turned dull. The smile faded. Jace felt a chill. We are trained to remove feelings, Keltha said, because they cause war, chaos, fear, and love. Jace added. She nodded slowly. Yes, and that scared them the most. As they spoke, danger grew in the shadows, in a tall spire on the other side of the Moon Palace. 3 old Zalari lords met in secret. High Lord Verx, a thin figure with glowing red eyes, slammed a hand on the table. She is infected, he shouted. This human has broken her mind. Emotion is a virus, said another. If it spreads, the harmony collapses. Then we cut out the source, Verx said coldly. The Empress or the human? Back in the garden chamber, Keltha showed Jace something strange, a small crystal orb. It pulsed gently. This is a harmony link. It lets me hear the thoughts of my people. But lately, it has been changing. She handed it to him. He held it. Suddenly he felt something. Not words, not thoughts, but emotions. A wave of sadness. A flash of joy, confusion, curiosity. All from her. Keltha gasped. You connected. That's never happened before? Never? Our minds are not meant to link with humans. Well, maybe I'm just extra weird. She gave him a soft look. Yes, but in a good way. For a moment, there was silence. Then Keltha looked away. I wish I could keep speaking with you like this, but the council grows restless. They want me gone? They want you? Erased. Jace stood. So what now? Keltha walked to the window. Outside, stars glowed over the moon. You must leave the palace. Tonight, I will come with you. Jace blinked.
How'd you hear that?
Empress, I may not be for long. That night, they met near the edge of the palace garden. Keltha wore a traveler's cloak. Her royal light was dimmed. Jace carried a small bag, mostly snacks. They reached a hidden platform. Sleek silver sky steel ship sat ready. I can fly, Jace said. Keltha raised an eyebrow. You fly as a Lari ship? I've played a lot of Earth space simulators. She looked unsure. He smiled. Trust me.
Yes.
The ship lifted into the night sky, silent and fast. But a minute later, sirens blared across the palace. They had been seen. 3 silver ships launched after them. Guards in armor followed in fast crafts. Inside the stolen ship, Jace took the controls. Okay, this might be bumpy. Keltha sat beside him. Where are we going? I saw a map earlier. There's an abandoned colony on a nearby moon. They sealed it off centuries ago, called it a place of emotional corruption. That sounds perfect. The chase began. Zalari ships fired warning shots. Blue beams lit up the black sky. Jace dodged them, spinning through crystal clouds. Keltha held on tightly. Do you call this flying? I call it improvising. Earth style. They reached the broken moon Zelarax. Old ruins covered its surface homes. Towers, statues of forgotten faces. Jace landed the ship near a cracked dome as they stepped out. The air smelled like dust and memory. This place, Keltha whispered. It was once full of dreamers. They entered a ruined hall. Strange murals lined the walls as Lari smiling, dancing, painting. Then, from the shadows, voices figures appeared, old, worn, but alive. Zalari exiles, eyes not glowing but warm, clothes handmade. Faces marked with paint. They looked at Keltha. The Empress one whispered. "No," Keltha said. "Not anymore. Just Keltha." Then she pointed to Jace. "And this is the one who made me smile." The exiles bowed slightly. "Then we owe him thanks," one said. "You have brought change." As they sat around a fire made of glowing stones, Jace listened to the forgotten ones. They had left the harmony long ago, choosing freedom over control. They told stories, sang soft songs. Keltha looked at them with wide eyes. "I was taught you were mad," she said. "We are." One old woman laughed. Mad with feeling, Jace leaned back. "Honestly, this is the nicest rebellion I've ever been part of." Keltha looked at him. "In the palace I was a symbol, untouchable, unfeeling. But here, I feel real." Jace smiled. "That's humanity's secret weapon, you know." "What is?" He leaned closer, being real. The ruins of Zelarax were quiet, peaceful, and full of old energy. The exiled Zelari moved slowly, speaking in low tones, but their eyes held warmth that the palace never had. For the first time in her life, Keltha felt human and next. To her, Captain Jace Wilder felt like he was finally doing something that mattered. They stayed in the Hidden Moon colony for 2 days. The exiles gave them food, shelter, and shared stories long forgotten by the main empire. Keltha sat near the glowing stone fire one night, watching 2 children paint on the wall with glowing dust. They drew stars, smiling faces, and one strange figure with spiky brown hair and a crooked grin. "That's supposed to be you," said Jace, sitting beside her. "It does not look like me," she said, smiling. "It's me," Jace said. "Hair gives it away." She looked at the painting again and laughed softly. "So chaotic, yeah, but full of life." Keltha turned toward him. Her fingers brushed lightly over his hand. "Your people, your way of living, it frightens me." Jace looked down at their hands. "Why?" "Because it's free, and free things can break, but they can also fly." She looked into his eyes again. This time her gaze didn't search for maps. It searched for answers. "Do you think... She began slowly, "that I could ever truly feel the way your kind does? Laugh, love, dream, you already are," Jace said. "Every time you smile, you're rewriting your empire's history." Leaned a little closer. He hesitated, then said gently, "So, Empress, if I kissed you right now, would that start a war?" Her voice was soft. "Possibly," he smiled. "Worth it." But before they could move, a sharp sound filled the air. Boom, the sky above. Zelarax lit up with silver flashes. Zelari warships. They had been found, High Lord. Verk stood in the main control deck of the flagship Judgment Star. His eyes were burning red with anger. On the screens in front of him was an image of Keltha and the human captain walking together in the ruins. "This is not just betrayal," Verk said. "It is contamination. Emotion has infected the crown." His assistant, a younger Zelari named Taller, hesitated. "Should we capture her or erase them both?" Verk said coldly. "Before the infection spreads." Back on Zelarax, alarms rang through the old ruins. The exiles ran into the underground tunnels. Keltha and Jace followed them, guided by an elder named Mira. "They will burn this moon," she said. "They always feared us." "We have to fight," Keltha said. "We have no weapons," Mira replied. But Jace stopped, eyes wide. "Wait, that's not true." He pointed toward a sealed dome with an ancient mark on the door. A warning in glowing letters. "What is that?" he asked. Keltha's eyes narrowed. "That symbol means forbidden." "Then we're in the right place." Inside the dome, the air felt thick with power. Strange machines slept in the shadows. At the center stood a tall silver pillar surrounded by floating rings. It glowed softly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Keltha gasped. I've read about this. It's a soul resonator. What does it do? Jace asked. It's a weapon powered by emotion, created long ago before the Harmony core. It uses feelings as energy. Jace stepped closer. You mean it runs on vibes? In simple words, she said, yes. Mira looked worried. It hasn't been used for centuries. But we can use it now, Jace said. You feel things now, right? Keltha touched the pillar. It pulsed brighter. I do, she whispered, more than ever before. Outside. The Zellery warships began charging their main cannons. Blue light gathered at the tips. Inside the dome, the soul resonator came alive, spun, hummed, and sang. Keltha closed her eyes and focused. She let her feelings rise, joy, sadness, curiosity, hope, and something new, love. The machine reacted. It burst with white light. Suddenly, energy shot into the sky, forming a protective barrier above the colony. The first enemy blast hit its hand. Stopped High Lord Verks watched in disbelief. She activated the resonator. His assistant spoke quietly. It runs on emotion. She has it now, Verks growled. Then we'll destroy her and that cursed machine. Jace grabbed an old comms. Unit from the wall. This is Captain Jace Wilder of Earth to the Terran Fleet. If you can hear this, we need backup at Zellerax. Sending coordinates now. Static. Then a crackle. This is Commander Lee of the TSS Horizon. We're on our way. Line, Jace smiled. See, humans never miss a chance for a dramatic rescue. Keltha stood beside him, her body glowing slightly from the resonator's bond. You've changed me, she said. You've awakened something I didn't. No, I had. Jace took her hand. You've changed me too. Never thought I'd fall for someone with silver blood and glowing eyes. She smiled. I'm still not sure about kissing. Let's survive first, then we'll talk.
Outside.
The battle began. Zellery warships fired beam after beam, but the emotional shield held strong. Tied the dome, Keltha stood like a queen of light, connected to the resonator, guiding its power. But she was growing tired. This connection, she said, it burns energy quickly. I can't hold it forever. Jace looked around. There has to be another way. Mira stepped forward. You, Captain, you care for her?
Yes.
Jace said without hesitation. Then let your feelings join hers. I don't glow. He said, I don't have psychic powers. No, Mira said. But love doesn't need powers. Jace stepped up to the resonator. He reached out, unsure what to do. Keltha grabbed his hand and placed it on the core. It felt warm. Suddenly he felt everything, her emotions, his own, the memories, the fear. The hope all of it poured into the resonator. The rings spun faster. The pillar glowed brighter. Above the moon, a wave of pure light burst outward, striking the enemy's ships. Not with fire, not with death, but with feeling. The pilots froze in their seats. Their harmony links shook. For the first time in ages, they felt something. A memory, a sadness, moment of joy. Some screamed, others wept. Few simply turned off their weapons. On the flagship, High Lord Verks stood shaking. What is this? What have they done? Talar, his assistant, whispered, It's beautiful. Verks growled. Then you are infected too. He raised his blaster, but Talar turned and knocked it away. No, I'm finally awake. The enemy. Fleet pulled back, not by force, but by awakening inside the dome. Keltha collapsed into Jace's arms. You did it, she whispered. No, he said. We did it. He brushed her silver hair from her face. So, about that kiss. She blinked. Now, we just saved your people with emotions. Feels like a good time. She leaned forward, and finally, under a ruined dome with glowing stars above, the Empress of half the galaxy kissed the chaotic Terran who had once told her a terrible joke, and for the first time in Zelleray's history, the kiss became a revolution. The war didn't end with a bang. It ended with a heartbeat. One wave of emotion, sent through the ancient soul resonator, had changed everything. The mighty Zellery Empire, once cold and perfect, began to crack not from outside force, but from inside feelings, and in the center of it all stood two people, Keltha, the Empress who learned to feel, and Jace Welder, the human who made her smile. A few hours after the blast of light, the warships stopped firing. The Zelari forces didn't surrender, but they didn't attack either. Many pilots removed their harmony implants. Some simply flew away. Others landed near the ruins of Zelarax, asking questions with trembling voices. What is this feeling? Why does my chest hurt when I think of the stars? One young officer cried without knowing why. Another laughed and then hugged a stranger. All of them were experiencing emotion for the first time. Keltha sat quietly inside the resonator dome, resting her head on Jace's shoulder. Her body was still glowing faintly from the connection. You okay? He asked gently. I'm sure, she whispered. Fair, he said. You just changed galactic history with a love-powered space crystal. She chuckled weakly. You make everything sound like a child's fairy tale. Maybe that's what your empire needs. Fewer rules, more stories. Later they walked together through the old ruins of the moon. Zelari exiles came out of hiding, watching her with mixed emotions, fear, respect, awe. Keltha stood before them. Number crown? No guards. Only truth. I was born in a palace, she said. Trained to lead without feeling. Trained to be a symbol, not a person. But I've changed, and I cannot go back. The crowd listened. I do not ask you to follow me. I ask you to help me. Build something new. A future where we feel, we dream, and yes, we sometimes fall in love, Mira. The old exile leader stepped forward and smiled. Then it's time we come out of the shadows. Back on the capital world of Zelkora, the council was in chaos. Reports of the resonators awakening. Ships returning without orders, pilots refusing commands. Even High Lord Verx was missing his ship found empty, floating above the moon. The Harmony Core once, the center of power was unstable. Some citizens started pulling out their mind links. Others, secretly at first, began whispering the Empress's name with hope. A rebellion had begun, not with weapons, but with emotions. Meanwhile, Jace received a message from Earth. The Terran Union had received his call. Ships were on their way not for war, but for peace talks. Commander Lee's voice crackled through the old Cums unit. Jace, you're a damn legend. The Council wants to talk to your glowing alien girlfriend ASAP. We've got diplomats, scientists, and about 1,000 questions. Jace sighed. Tell them to wait. She just started breathing freely. Keltha watched the stars that night from a rooftop above the ruins. She sat with her legs folded, her eyes calm but focused. Jace joined her, carrying 2 cups of warm berry tea made by the exiles. You've been quiet, he said. I'm thinking about the future, she nodded. About everything. Right. Kind of leader I want to be. Kind of galaxy I want to live in. He handed her a cup. And where do I fit in? She smiled softly. Right here. Jace sat beside her. Not bad for a guy who once flirted with an Empress using a pickup line. It was terrible, she said. But honest. He laughed. You know, humans have an old saying, the heart wants what it wants. She looked at him, her glowing eyes calm. Then my heart wants to learn how to want. The next morning, Keltha made a decision. I must return to Zelkora, she said, not to rule, not with control, but to offer a choice. Jace frowned. That's dangerous, yes, she said, but it's necessary. 3 days later, the Empress returned, not in a golden ship, not with an army. She returned in an old, scarred vessel with exiled dust still on her cloak and a Terran. Captain by her side, the palace gates opened slowly. The High Council was waiting. Half of them looked angry. The other half looked afraid. One of the youngest council members, Lord Inari, stepped forward. You are no longer connected to the Harmony Core. Keltha nodded. I disconnected myself. That is treason. No, she said. That is freedom. A pause. Then she added, and I offer you all the same. a choice. For the first time in recorded history, the Empress called for a public broadcast. No filters, no edits. Every Zelari citizen, from the Silver Towers to the Dust Moons, heard her speak. I was born into silence, into cold perfection. But perfection is a lie. She spoke of her journey, of Jace, of the exiles, of the resonator, feelings and change. I will no longer be your Empress. I'll be your equal. And together, we will decide how to move forward. Duh. Speech shocked the galaxy. Some called her mad, others called her brave, but everyone listened. Across the stars, things began to shift. Small groups disconnected from the Harmony Core voluntarily. They began to paint, to dance, to cry. Emotional expression centers opened in quiet corners of cities. Poems were written in the streets, and a new word began to spread across Zelari space. Feelers, those who had chosen emotion. It wasn't always easy. Some feared the feelings. Others rejected them. But it had begun. One evening, Keltha and Jace stood in the old throne room. It was empty now. The guards had been dismissed, the harmony devices removed. Only echoes remained. Feels strange, he said, looking around. No crown, no drama, just us. She took his hand. And is that enough? He squeezed her fingers gently. Always. It is. She looked into his eyes deep and soft. I still don't know where this will lead. Neither do I, he said. If you get lost again, she smiled. You'll have a map? He leaned closer. No, I'll just keep getting lost in your eyes. She shook her head, laughing. Still a terrible line, but it worked. This time she kissed him first, and across the galaxy. The stars blinked just a little brighter. Because somewhere in the heart of a once emotionless empire, two people had decided to feel, and that made all the difference. The galaxy had changed, not because of a war, not because of a great weapon, but because one alien empress allowed herself to feel, and one human dared to love her. Now, change moved slowly but surely across the stars. Emotions once illegal in the Zelari Empire were blooming. It's like flowers in cold soil. But every flower has its enemies, and in the dark corners of space, enemies were watching. A rogue commander, Virus Karn, once loyal to the old system, had gone silent after the Harmony Core failed. Now he returned. Not to rebuild the old way, but to destroy everything that dared to feel. He called it the Purge of Weakness. He gathered warships. He reactivated illegal mind control tech. His plan: attack Zelkora and wipe out the new emotion-led society, and most of all, kill the one who started it, Keltha. Keltha now lived in a small sky home above the capital city. She no longer wore a crown. She didn't give orders. She listened. She taught young feelers how to meditate through feelings. She learned human jokes from Jace. She visited art halls and emotion clinics every week. She smiled more now, but her heart was heavy. She felt it in the wind. Something was coming. That evening, the stars turned silver above the sky. Jace entered, holding a small box. You all right? He asked. She looked out the window. It's too quiet. Yeah, peace is loud only when it breaks. She turned to him. What's in the box? He opened it. Inside was a small ring made of Terran stone and Zelari crystal, half human. Half alien, Earth custom, he said. You call it an engagement ring? It means I want to build a future with you. Her eyes widened. You want to marry me? He smiled. We've already saved the galaxy once. Might as well make it official. Before she could answer, a red alarm flashed outside. A siren, then explosions. In space above Zelkora Virus, Karn's fleet had arrived. 10 massive warships, old harmony blades, emotion blockers, thought warp engines. This planet is infected, Karn said coldly. We burn it clean. They began firing, not just on government buildings, but on art, centers, music halls, feeling clinics. This was not war. This was fear. Keltha grabbed her old cloak. We have to go. Jace stopped her. No, we have to stand. You're not a soldier anymore. I'm not standing as a soldier. I'm standing as your future. Down below, chaos broke out in the city, but the people did not run. Painters stood in front of their murals. Singers held hands and sang louder. Children stood with blank harmony chips in their palms and threw them into fire. This was not the same Zelari Empire. This was a galaxy awakening. Keltha and Jace reached the old resonator dome, now rebuilt and connected to the city's power. It had become a beacon for emotion, a tower of light powered by collective feeling. She stepped inside, heart pounding. The resonator greeted her. It still remembered her soul, and it welcomed. Jace too. They touched the core dash together, and the dome glowed gold. A new wave spread through the city. Not fear, not control, but hope. It reached every street, every heart, even above inside the enemy ships. Some soldiers stopped. One pilot began crying inside his armor. Another dropped his weapon. Virus. Karn saw it happening. Emotion again. He growled. This sickness must end. He charged his null cannon, a weapon built to destroy all psychic energy. If I destroy the resonator, he said, they'll fall back into silence. He aimed it directly at the dome. But just before firing, a dozen Terran ships jumped in. The Terran peace fleet had arrived. Commander Lee's voice echoed through every cum line. This is Earth. You fire that cannon. And you declare war on the human race. Karn hissed. Your kind is weak. You love too easily. Lee laughed. That's our greatest strength. Below, Keltha stood in the light of the resonator. Around her stood exiles, young feelers, old council members, and Jace. She raised her voice, letting the resonator carry it across the city and sky. You cannot erase us, Commander Karn. Her voice rang like music and fire. We are not weak. We are learning to live. Jace stepped forward. We may cry, but we fight harder. We may laugh, but we stand taller. Keltha took his hand. Come down, Karn, she said. Fiel. For once in your life? Karn hesitated. His hand shook. Inside his helmet, a tear formed. Something inside him cracked. But then he screamed, No, I am pure. I am harmony. He fired the null cannon. The beam shot toward the dome, but something strange happened. The beam stopped. Halfway, caught in midair, the people below weren't afraid. They were feeling thousands of them, all at once, sending emotion into the R-zone. Joy, fear, sadness, love, hope, pain, dreams. The resonator fed on it. The golden light turned. Into white flame, it reached the beam and unwove it, like wind blowing away smoke. Karn's weapon was useless. His fleet lost power. His soldiers dropped, to their knees. And Karn himself screamed as his mind so. Long locked in silence was finally opened. He felt everything he had killed, and it broke him. Silence. Then laughter, tears, music, everywhere, across the city, across the ships. Even Earth joined in broadcasting. Songs and poetry across the sea, OMMs. It was the day the galaxy remembered it, at a soul. Weeks passed. Karn was placed in healing care. Not prison. The resonator was protected not as a weapon, but as a guide. Keltha created the United Free Stars Council. With humans, Zelari, and other species, feelings were no longer weakness. They were law. And 1 month after that, Green Planet, near the edge of Zelari space, a celebration took place. Keltha wore a simple blue dress. Her silver hair flowed like moonlight. Jace stood beside her in a clean black suit, before a crowd of humans and aliens. They made vows. I once ruled without heart, she said. Now I give mine to you. I once flew without purpose, he said. Now I've landed where I belong. And when they kissed, stars seemed to glow just a little brighter. Later, as they sat on a small hill under the night sky, Jace looked up. Do you think it'll last? He asked. This peace. She nodded. This everything. Leaned on his shoulder, I don't know. He smiled. Good. That means it's real. She laughed. Terran logic is strange. Terran love is even stranger, he said. But it brought us here. She turned to him, eyes glowing softly. Jace. Yeah. But do you still get lost in my eyes? He grinned. Every single day. She smiled. And this time her heart didn't burn with confusion. It burned with love. A love that shone brighter than suns.